So I think the best way to learn about elementary is to maybe see a little bit about elementary. So my name is Nicole Kang, and let's just get started with learning a little bit about elementary, this platform that I created. So the website is www.elementary.io, and basically it's an online platform where you could create interactive stories or games using professional illustrations and sounds just like this. So a bit about me. I am the co-founder of Elementary. I am a teacher and researcher. I was mostly working in STEM. I ran summer programs in South Korea for STEM. It was 3 weeks long, winter and summer camps. I also was an educational researcher, both at MIT and then later in Taiwan. And you can reach me on Twitter at NicoRars. And I'm learning to build a professional learning network there. So join me there. And I'm really glad to meet all of you. So basically, I want to condense my time into a couple of different areas. The first one will be just an overview, and we'll look at project ideas. I'll take you through a quick walkthrough of elementary so you can actually see how it works. And then I don't know if anybody has any questions, but we'll see if there are, and I can try to answer those. So let's get started. Are you excited? And so what's the deal with elementary anyway? Well, you can use elementary to write, code, and share interactive stories. And that's really powerful because students will have an authentic audience. When they create a story and they keep it in their classroom, that's great and all, you can take a picture. But at the end of the day, what students really want is to see their work appreciated outside of their classroom, within their classroom and outside. And this just gives them another platform to really share their creations. So in the context of, let's say you're creating an invention and you want to do a research project, maybe instead of doing a PowerPoint, you want to go on elementary and create an app that explains your project, or maybe you want to create an interactive story, or maybe even a game. Those are all options. So elementary is recognized as one of 2019's best websites for teaching and learning by the American School Library Association. We're a team of 2, so that's really incredible that we're listed alongside really big names. And yeah, we're really passionate about what we do, and that's how we get there. So what kind of projects can you make? So I talked a little bit about research projects. Those are really key. We have a lot of science teachers use elementary for research project purposes, anything from, how the the water cycle is, and instead of, doing a PowerPoint or a poster, students can create like a narrative of a water droplet named Wilbur as he goes throughout the water cycle. Or you can do something like very standard, like, oh, I want to explain a chemical periodic table element. Those are all things that have been done in science classes. What's really cool is, although elementary does teach computer science, we're used in the regular classroom. So science class as well as English language arts classes, those are all really popular. In the US, they have like gifted programs. It's also popular there, as well as foreign languages. So people use it specifically for writing because, as you see, we have a lot of illustrations. It's about 16,000 professional illustrations and sounds you can use. And that's really, really powerful for students who struggle with writing. You can create comics, you can create, paragraphs, but you just give students more freedom of their voice and choice in what they want to present. So the cool thing about elementary, of course, is the coding, and I'll take you through that in a little bit. But basically, you could do things like animations, you can do things like audiobooks with voiceovers, which is really popular with younger students who might, struggle with writing. And so therefore they can express themselves and their characters through these audio picture books. Choose your own adventures are also popular. Virtual escape rooms are popular as well, and apps. So this is a platform that can be used K to 12 and even in higher education. We have teachers use it to present content, as well as even, professionals who use it to either communicate their cause or to create like an escape room, which is something that's very difficult to do on other platforms. But the real core is, my mission is really to get kids to like writing. So why are teachers using elementary in the first place? Well, obviously, visual storytelling, learning how to code, shareable products, practicing digital citizenship and applying those type of skills, and then project-based learning, because every story on elementary does require writing time, maybe some coding time, and most importantly, a revision or debugging phase because you want to correct. So one thing that I always talk to teachers is, especially those who are maybe not familiar with STEM or with, coding, I'm like, okay, well, it's like the writing process. What do we do in the writing process? Well, we revise, we reiterate, we improve it, and it's the same thing. So we want to just make writing fun, because writing is not fun for a lot of kids, and we hope that this can be a way to get kids to write, not just inside the classroom because they have to, but because they want to, and that's the real key. So what are some reasons your students might want to write on elementary? Well, I'll leave that open, and you can think about how you can maybe integrate it into your curriculum, and I'll give you some ideas as well. So the main last thing before I go into the demo is I do want to cover classroom features. And the main thing is, if you're a teacher, you can go ahead and create a classroom, manage student accounts. If you use Google Classroom, you can import your Google Classroom with one click. Otherwise, you can create student accounts. There's no emails needed. And the main benefit of having a classroom is you could review student stories and publish student stories. So students can submit the stories to you, but you have the final say of whether or not it gets published to the public. So that's another thing for privacy purposes that we do for classrooms. The other thing is, if you go premium, you can access student analytics, which is really great. If you're full virtual, you can see how long students spend writing, how long they spend coding, number of characters they've written, number of lines they've coded, and you can give feedback on stories page by page. So that's also really key, especially if you're like an English language arts teacher and you're always saying, remember to capitalize the first letter of your sentence, things like that, that are small little things that kids have to always be reminded of. That's really helpful. And then the final thing is you have a classroom library where you can showcase all of your stories in one place that have been published by your students. So the last thing I want to talk about, I go really fast before I go into the demo. Sorry, this is the very last thing, is remixes. So if you are familiar with Scratch, Scratch also has remixes, and we take that same concept. And so for those who don't know, a remix is basically a modified version of something, a published product, something that's out there already. And these things can be remixed, which means we can take the original source and we can make our own changes. So on elementary, any published story can be remixed. So you can go in and you could say, oh, I like this book. Maybe I want to change the ending, or I want to see how it's coded, or maybe I want to use it as a template. And remixes are really powerful for that. But the main thing for writing is remixes removes this blank page syndrome that a lot of kids have. When you ask some kids, like, what are you going to write? They're like, I don't know. What do I write? I have a blank page. What do I do? Or especially students who are already struggling with writing, having a template is really great because it gives them a sense of structure and allows them to, fill in the blanks. So we have some curriculum on elementary, and one of them is on fables. I can maybe show you if we have time, but it has like the pictures already there, and the student's job is to then just fill in the dialogue and the narration so that the fable makes sense. So templates are really powerful. They can personalize an existing story, remove this blank page syndrome, also allow students who want to, challenge themselves and be like, oh, how is this coded? This is pretty cool. Then they can remix it and actually see how it's coded. There's no need for the teacher to always be behind them and say, and this is how you do it, kid. The kids can explore, which I think is really important for, just their own projects and their own sense of discovery, which to me is one of the most important things about what education is about, is teaching students how to learn. So when you publish a remix, then the original author and the story will be automatically credited, notified. So that's another tie-in to digital citizenship that you can also do with your students. And the last thing is, when you publish, you also have credits that are automatically generated. And these are all of the illustrations and sounds or backgrounds that have been used in your story. So that's pretty cool as well. Whew. So I don't know. Do we take questions here? If you have questions, you can let me know anytime. But otherwise, I'll get started.
I never get in the path of a moving train. So
Whew.
you just keep on going. You're doing great.
Okay, so I'll just go ahead and get started. But if you have any questions, you can reach me, email, Twitter, all those things. And I'm going to go ahead and create a brand new project. So I'm going to go ahead and click on write a new story and just give you a brief overview of how easy it is to create. So when I talk to a lot of teachers and you put the word code in a sentence, they freak out. They're just like, I'm a teacher. I don't know how to code. What are you talking about? They didn't teach me that in school. I can write a lesson plan, but code, not me. And I say, don't worry. Like, it's not as scary as you think. And to be honest, like 99% of the teachers who use this platform are English teachers. So you're in great company, like it's fine. So it looks a lot like PowerPoint. And that's also why it can be used for younger grades to start with digital storytelling. They don't need to be introduced to the coding until they feel ready for it. You can start with a blank project and just, add some animals that you like. Let's say I like cats, for example. I think cats are cute. I have a cat myself, and I can, resize it just like you would on Google Slides or PowerPoint, and set up maybe a background. Maybe I want my cat in a house. Do I have a house? Yeah, I have a house. Here you go. Here's my house. So I have a cat in my house, and maybe I want my cat to say something. So I go to my text, and I can go ahead and add a speech bubble, and I can say, hello, everyone. How are you doing? So you see, we can already use elementary just for storytelling purposes. And this can be done for younger grade levels to do independently, to create their own stories, and also collaboratively. So if you're in like a setting where maybe you're a teacher and you're dealing with younger students and you want to explain something or create a story around some sort of concept, you can collaboratively write something together. And I encourage that. So okay, so you're like, okay, so where's the coding? I don't see any coding on here. And that's because the coding is on the back side of the page. So the front side is where you design your picture book or your comic or your whatever you're going to do. And then the back side is, you can access it by clicking on this button, Event Graph. So I'm going to click on Event Graph, and I'll flip it over to the back side of the page. And now the back side is where we can code all of our interactions and all of our animations, our logic, everything. So you'll notice now on the right-hand side here, you have functions, variables, logic, events, and objects. So the terminology here is all consistent with computer programming. And like I said, the objective of elementary is not to really teach computer science, like, okay, step one, this is what a function is. Step two, this is what an event is. It's really just to have students create a product and learn computer science along the way, or computational thinking along the way. So I'm going to go into functions. And if you don't know what functions are, basically they're the actions that we tell the computer. They tell the computer what action to do. So some examples can be play a text effect, or we want to fade, or maybe we want to play a sound effect, or a music, or a recorded sound. So there's a lot of different functions that you can choose from. There's even like go to page, which is really useful when you're creating an app, or when you're creating like choose your own adventure, those type of things. And go to link, those are all functions. So I'm going to go ahead and get the play text effect. So this is a nice typewriter effect that you saw, and it's just a very easy way to add something kind of fun to your story. So I'm going to go on page start. This is my event. So events tell us when we want to execute our piece of code. And in our case, we want this animation to run on page start, but you can do it whenever. You can do it on click. You can do it whenever you want. So I now have my 3 blocks. And if you're familiar with Scratch or code.org, you're like, this looks nothing like what I know. What is this? And this is called node-based visual programming. So there's a misconception that visual programming is just for babies. And real programming is JavaScript and Python, and it's text-based. And that's completely false because visual programming is used in the real world. It's actually used in the animation industry predominantly, and it looks similar to this. So for example, I'm going to grab my white triangle and I can connect it to my white triangle here. And then I always ask kids like, okay, so are we done now? Can we run our code? And sometimes we can run our code, we can test it out. Nothing's gonna happen because the code's not correct. So you're like, okay, nothing's happening, we're missing a step. So what are we missing? Let's figure it out. So I have a purple triangle here, and let's figure out where we can connect this purple triangle. And it connects to the purple triangle like so. So now we have our first piece of code, and let's preview and check it out. So now we have our typewriter effect. So this is once again called node-based visual programming or flow-based visual programming. It's like a flow chart, and we can look at the code coming from left to right, following the white lines or the white arrows to see what we want to do. So this is a simple example, but you can do things like adding functions in sequence, which is one function after another. So let's say maybe I want to first fade in my cat and then play a text effect. I can do that. And I would just go ahead and grab my fade, grab my cat, and then connect my blocks together like so. So this is saying step 1, I want to fade in my cat. Step 2, I want to play a text effect. Anyway, so I think I am basically done with my time, is it? But that gives you an overview of how the coding works and how the projects kind of look like. And then basically you would hit publish, and then it would be submitted to the teacher to be approved.
Wow, Nicole, that was fantastic. Thank you. That was great.
Yeah, that was amazing. I teach Scratch myself, and like you said, it's not that easy. It's not that hard. Actually, you don't have to be a programmer or coder to do this. It's a really easy tool, and it's really useful in schools, and they can express their ideas, and they can you know, understand the information more clearly with these tools. That was amazing. Thank you, Nicole.
I'm sorry, you both have it wrong. I have been telling people that coding is really hard, and I can do it because I am incredibly intelligent. If you are teaching kids that anyone can do it, this is terrible. Don't stop.
Jack, it's a skill. It's a skill. The more you practice, the more you get better. That's it.
Yeah, that's what my friend who works for Google says. He's like, stop teaching kids. I'm going to be running out of a job.
Nicole, I just want to make sure that everyone who's watching understands. And what you have created is available where?
So it's available as long as your internet doesn't block it. And so you can just access it online at www.elementary, like spelt like elementary school, but with an I at the end, .io. And it's free to get started. As a teacher, you can create up to 35 student accounts for free as well. And right now, I also hold virtual field trip, hour of code, that you can also book with me to help you get started, and free kid clubs on Saturday. So, and that's all available on the website.
Great, thank you.
And you are also want to mention that you are already very international in the fact that you are living where?
So I'm living in France, and I came here after being in Taiwan. So I kind of been living in a couple of different places. And the other thing, speaking of international, elementary is translated into French, Spanish, Italian, German, and partly in Greek. Yeah. So that's all done by the community.
With more languages probably coming, right?
Yeah, as long as the community helps me, then we put it up. So
Is there anything else you wanted to show or share? You have some time.
Oh, I do? Okay, perfect. Well, I think the last thing is I think I want to share a couple of student stories I think are really
Oh,
awesome.
yes, perfect. We don't care about you. We want to see
Yeah,
this.
we want to see student stories. So you go to stories, and here you'll see all the stories created by people. So this is one that I like to show often because I think it's easy enough for kids to create and also really, really cool. So this is done by a 6th grader, and this was, so let's pick a name. So this is like a game. So we have to find a name for this character. I don't know, we'll call her like Elise or something. Doesn't matter. Okay, so it's like, my name is Elise. So day 1, hey, Elise. And then you have choices. Who's Elise? Or, oh, you're talking to me. And kids really love this because I always tell them to vote 1 or 2 with their fingers, and then they can make their choice. And they're like, okay, oh, you're talking to me? Wait, what do you mean? Oh, I get it. Haha, very funny. It's like, I don't get it. Or, wait, I'm not joking. Okay, I don't get it. Oh my gosh, what is your problem? You said we were friends. What happens if I say I don't remember you or anything else for that matter? Or wait, please, I'm serious. Okay, wait, please, I'm serious. So you're not joking? Do you really not remember anything? That's what I've been saying. Or yeah, I'm not sure what happened. That's what I've been saying. Ah, geez, I'm sorry, Elise. So you'll notice here we have Elise, and this is a great way to introduce variables in the context of English language arts. So Mad Lib stories are another great way of doing it. So so now you have a choice. It's all right, Addie, or I can't believe you treat anyone like that for making a joke. Let's be nice. It's all right, Addie. So thanks, Elise. I'm glad we're still friends. So this is the ending that you get depending on your choices. And this this person, Supernova, created, I think she has like 4 characters that you can go and talk to, things like that. So that's really cool. And this is something that is accessible for, you know, starting 3rd grade, maybe not the variables, but at least the choose your own adventure. It's very accessible for 3rd grade, starting 3rd grade and up. And then if you are talking about older students, you can of course do much more complex things, such as creating a personality test, like a simulator, or even like an escape room, where maybe you have to do conditionals to compare the code to the code that the reader inputs to the actual answer. So those are all really great and creative ideas on how to apply your current understanding in a new way. That's not just this is my project about X, and in my project I learned Y. It challenges students in new ways and also opens the door because some students do express themselves better through coding. So that's just another thing. So yeah.
Wow, that's great.
That is wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much, Nicole.
I already got my own elementary account just now. Let's see what I can do. Wow, it's awesome.
So yeah, you have a tutorial button. There's a purple tutorial button, and then you can go through those tutorials, and that's probably the best way of learning. And then there's also the YouTube channel where I put tutorials specifically on how to do certain things, like how to use the text variable or things like that. And then the last step would be, if you're interested on more like teacher approaches, I have some recorded webinars on the YouTube channel as well that I've done for like CS for All Teachers and some other organizations.
Great.
Okay. Very nice.
That is very, very impressive.
Yeah.
Very impressive. And I would like to repeat that coding is extremely difficult, and only incredibly good-looking and very intelligent people can do that.
Thank you. Those brilliant kids gonna tell you that's wrong. You can be 7 years old like Omar and Naib and do your own game and code. So they're gonna tell you about their experiences now. And thank you, Nicole.
Thank you, Nicole, very much. Thank you. And
Bye,
thank you.